Well, welcome. Today we're going to be doing a lesson on the FFA record book, and we're going to concentrate on the journal today. Well, what I would like to do for you folks today is take a look at our journal. What is a journal of the FFA record book? Again, I'm going to give you a sample problem that I would like you to record in your record book, and just to remind you how it's used and what are some benefits of it. First of all, it's supposed to kind of record all your enterprises. As you can see, kind of on the right-hand side and the left-hand side of your book, there are these what we call ledgers, and in each ledger you put your day-to-day kinds of hours, income, your expenses, and then you kind of total up all of the months as well as the month and bring it total to date. So it's really what we would consider a financial ledger. On the left side is the general ledger side, and then on the right-hand side is obviously the enterprise ledger sides. You can put up to 4 different enterprises or SAEs on the right side, plus 1 unpaid one as well. So let's go ahead and get started with our problem. As I said before, on the left-hand side is, of course, the general ledger side. Everything that you do with all of your projects, all your SAEs, goes on that side. And then on the right-hand side is all the different types of enterprises. You can sort them out individually. So we're going to be doing the lamb project. So it's going to be on the right-hand side. So everything in column A obviously is going to be our sheep ledger or our market lamb side. And so we're going to get started on the 3rd of June. What you did is you built the pen, maybe with your dad or some friends, but you need to record the date, so it would be the 3rd, and you put down the description of it is obviously the build the pen part. And it took 5 hours, so that was the total amount of hours from start to finish that you did. And of course you didn't get paid for it, but you want to make sure you record it. That goes on the general ledger side, the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, you need to also put your 5 hours. So right under where it says column A, put lamb or sheep, and we'll kind of go from there. And then also on the 5th, you actually bought the feed. Now remember, you're trying to get your things kind of set up and ready for the lamb, so you're buying your feed on the 5th. And you bought 2 bags, and each bag cost $21. And then by the time you figure out tax and those kinds of things, it was $45.57 with about 2 hours spent of your time going down there, bringing it back, putting it in the barn or wherever you keep the feed. And again, you also put it on the right-hand side. Then also on the 5th, since I was down at the feed store, obviously it would make sense to buy worming medication as well as what we call a 7-way vaccination, usually for all the clostridials and that kind of thing, for overeating and the like. And that was $18.44 for the worming medication and as well as the 7-way vaccine. And that was an additional 2 hours. Primarily because you may have to have get everything together, sort everything out, and put it away. Then on the 15th, June 15th, you and possibly some other ag students went down to the Whitworth's ranch and you bought a lamb. And you bought 1 lamb, and the cost was $300. So that also needs to be reflective in your expense side of things. And it took you 4 hours. Obviously, you had to go down there, you had to transport it, you had to bring it back, and because there was more of you, it was probably a little bit more, it was probably a little bit more time that way. So $300 and, of course, 4 hours. So those were the amount of time that you spent as well as the expenses. And then on the 16th, what you have is you had your weekly feed and care. Instead of writing one every day, I would suggest you just go with a weekly running total, but make sure you're very descriptive as far as what you did in that week. You fed, you also watered, and you exercised them all, and so that it was about 10 hours, 2 hours a day, or a little bit less than 2 hours a day. So you'd have 10 full hours. Then on the 19th, what you had is you went to the county fairgrounds, you filled out the paperwork, and you registered your lamb to enter it in the county fair. And that was $10 per head, and since you only had one head, that's $10, and it was 4 hours waiting in line, getting things filled out, preparing everything that you need from a paper point of view, and then of course on the enterprise ledger side you wanted to enter those as well. On the 23rd, we had another weekly feed and care. So during that particular week, you had the exercise, you watered, you fed, and that was 10 hours just like the one before it. And now what you're going to do is you're going to total everything down the column in the hours first, and you add 5 plus 2 plus 2, 4, 10, 4, and 10, and that comes out to 37 hours. And now, because it's a double ledger, a double entry system on these ledgers, you want to also add the other column in the enterprise ledger side. And then obviously you also want to do the expenses, so you want to add up all the expenses on the general ledger side. So you have $374.01, and you also have 37 hours. Now what you're going to do is go to the the enterprise ledger side and do the same calculations. That way you can balance each one of them. So 37 on the right side, 37 on the left side, and 374.01 and 374.01. So now your books are balanced. Now, because this is the very first entry into your book, you don't have any total brought forward. So when you take a look at line that says total brought forward, there'll be a 0 there. And then you'll add the 374.01 and a 37 to the zeros, and then you bring your totals over 37 and 37, 371.01, and 374.01. So those are the entries for June. I'm going to do a second month for you so you can understand how to bring the total forward. So what we're going to do now is going to the month of July. And if you'll notice that I brought the 371, let's go back to the other page. Whoops. Okay, let's bring them all forward again. And as you can see, they're in the right places. And then when you bring your 374.01, you bring them down to the bottom. Now you take that bottom where it says total to date, you bring it forward to July where it says total brought forward. And that's really how you bring the total forward so we can keep a running total month to month. So let's take a look at July. On July 1st, you started your weekly feed and care and exercise, 10 hours. So that should be fairly easy right there. And then on the 3rd, we bought some more feed because you probably didn't use it all the last month, but since you're in the feed store, you went ahead and bought 2 more sacks. There we go, 45.57, and it's 2 hours. And then we go to the 5th. Mr. Delsall came out and visited. And typically, your ecdies are going to be visiting on a regular basis, whatever that might be. In this particular case, it was on the 5th. Took 1 hour. Then on the 7th, you practiced your showmanship, 2 hours. And then you had your weekly feed, care, and exercise. And that's 10 hours. On the 13th, you warmed your lamb. Probably ought to do that every 4 to 6 weeks, especially during the time that you're getting ready for fair. It cost about $7, and that was 1 hour. On the 15th, we again entered another weekly feed and care and water exercise, 10 hours. 17th, you did a kind of a deep cleaning of your pens. From time to time, you need to, from time to time, you need to pull everything out and make sure that pen is extremely clean. And then the 22nd, same thing. And then lastly, you bought some more feed, 2 sacks at $21. It comes to $45.57, and 2 hours. So once you've got that all done, you're going to go ahead and add up the hours on both sides. Should balance to 50. And then bring down your totals for your expenses, 98.14 and 98.14. And then when you're going to add up your totals for the month and total brought forward, or So you get your total to date, 87 hours. And then what you also have is your total to date for the amount of expenses, $472.86. So I hope that this has provided some help for you to allow you to see the kinds of entries that need to happen, where to put them, and then how to deal with the monthly totals. On our next video, we're going to be taking a look at some of the other entries that you need to. I hope you keep up to date, and we'll see you in the classroom. Thank you very much. See ya.